Hi, my name is Nicolette Durso, and welcome to my 5th book critique. The first book I'll be critiquing is Rapunzel, written and illustrated by Paul O. Zielinski. The award is the Caldecott Medal, and the genres are traditional literature, folk tales, and fables. The reading level is kindergarten to 4th grade. Long ago, there was a woman who was pregnant and really craving Rapunzel from the garden next door. This garden belonged to a sorcerer, but her husband would do anything for her, so he snuck into the garden to get it. The sorcerer found him and demanded he give the baby to her. When the baby was born, the sorcerer took her, named her Rapunzel, and eventually put her in a tall tower to live. After that, the only way in was to have Rapunzel let down her long hair out of the window. One day, a prince heard Rapunzel singing and eventually discovered how to meet her. They fell in love, got married, and she became pregnant. The sorcerer found out, cut off her hair, and sent her to live alone in a forest. A year later, the prince found Rapunzel and their babies, and was finally able to bring them all to his home. I chose this book because I am a huge fan of fairy tales, but I had never read this version, so it was interesting to see more details of the story. The first lesson I have is a kindergarten science lesson. The objective is students will learn how plants grow and observe the plants' changes. So first, the teacher will give a lesson on gardening. The teacher will have brought in some Rapunzel, or otherwise known as rampion seeds. The students will get the opportunity to plant the seeds. Over time, the class will observe the growth of the Rapunzel plants. Together, we will discuss how the Rapunzel plants are growing and ways that we can make it continue to grow, such as proper air, sun, and water. Eventually, when the Rapunzel plant is fully grown, we will all have the chance to taste it. So we're using communication because we're discussing it, how to make the plants grow as a class, and it's also using critical thinking because we're thinking about how to make the plants continue to grow. The second lesson I have is a 5th grade math lesson. The objective is students will use measurements of centimeters and millimeters to determine the height and the length. So the teacher will first give a lesson on measurements. There will be 2 games to play with the class. One will be on centimeters and the others will be on millimeters. The teacher will ask for volunteers and choose some students to come up to the board to figure out what the correct measurement is. So we have the centimeter game and the millimeter game, and I already have them up. Let's see. So first we have Strolling with My Nomies. It's a measuring game. So we press play. And up comes the centimeters. We're going to ignore the inches because that's not what we're teaching. And we're going to just stick with whole numbers for right now. And press play. So basically they just select an object and it shows the ruler. So this is where it goes to. So it's 4. They put in the 4 and press the check and it's correct. And it moves on and you go on a whole walk with the gnomes. The second game I have is the millimeter game. So here's the ruler. You're going to start the game. And it's telling you 34 millimeters, so you would go to the 3. Find the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 mark, and there you go. And you would click on it and move on. And you could either have it on a time limit or no timers at all. Once you get 3 strikes, then you're done and you can start over. Students are asked to work in groups of 2 or 3 to build a tower, just like the one Rapunzel lived in. The students will be given tubes to build their towers. They will then measure how high their towers are in centimeters. Next, the groups will get yarn to represent Rapunzel's hair. The students will measure how long Rapunzel's hair needs to be, so the hair and the tower are the same length in millimeters. So we're using creativity by building the towers, and we're using collaboration from working in groups of 2 or 3. The second book I'm critiquing is Sarah Plain and Tall. It's written by Patricia McLachlan. The awards are the Newbery Medal and the Scott Odell Award. The genres are historical fiction and classics, and the reading level is 3rd to 5th grade. Sarah Plain and Tall is about 2 children who live with their father on a prairie. One day, the father places an ad in the paper for a wife. After getting to know each other a bit through letters, Sarah travels from Maine to live with the family. She grows to like the children and their father, but she misses her home and her brother. A neighbor comes for a visit and becomes a good friend to Sarah. She tells Sarah that no matter where you go, there will always be something to miss, and that she should involve herself with things she likes to do and learn something new. Sarah learns to drive so she can go to town by herself. The children worry she will not return, but she does. She brings back her own sense of peace, gifts for the children, and a yes to getting married and becoming a family. I chose this book because it is a childhood favorite. As a lover of the Little House on the Prairie books, Sarah Planentall was a must-read for me. I read everything I could that took place on the prairie. Alright, thank you so much for coming to my book critique.